Hey guys, check this out. I am officially now sponsored by Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink made to give you focus with no crash. If you guys are like me, you're always needing a burst of energy, especially with one with no crash. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. It keeps me awake with no jitters, guys. Check it out. Merch link is in the bio. Dubby.
Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop with Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Poppy.
Man, J-Cal's got a lot of opening videos. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and what can I tell you? It's the pre-party, and my name is Tim. I go by at the Alliance Gold, and I'm filling in for J-Cal today. He's taking a family trip. He's spending some time with the people closest to him. The boss is taking the week off, so you got me today for the pre-party, the hour before power, and also throughout the rest of the week. So if you're not a fan, I'm sorry. Tune in next week. No, tomorrow night we got. I'll be with the other Alliance guys. We're going to look at the first half of the NWA 312 pay-per-view, and then with the original OG Alliance guys on Thursday with DK and Jaden. After I have Jeremy and Dave Scooby on Thursday, we'll look at the back half of and do our deep dive into the back half of the NWA 312 pay-per-view. So I look forward to that. Hey, a lot of people here today, and I already started in the chat a bit earlier. Rick is here. Hello, Rick. Hello to everybody in the NWA fam and the Alliance family. Media Mike. Who's this guy? Okay, bye. Yeah, look, Mike's been here all day. He's had some stuff to say. Look, we're going to be talking about 312 tonight, and we're going to be talking about all of the things that you want to talk about. We'll be talking with you. This is your show. I'm just the moderator. But we'll run down 312 tonight and what happened there, and we'll do a preview of Power, such as it is for this evening. It's not. I mean, there is some pay-per-view material being broadcasted on Power tonight, but it looks like other than that, it is a bit of a rehash from the pay-per-view. They're showing three matches, two from the pay-per-view, one from the pre-show. So no original content per se, but 2/3 of that you wouldn't have been able to see if you didn't order the pay-per-view. Yeah, so as I say, a bunch of guys here in the chat already. Let me just get to that right off the bat. And I was asking everybody, what would you think of 312? And our friend Dodie said, you know what, F fight. That's what I think of 312. And he's talking about the feed, and we'll get to this. The feed dropped, guys. If you're not already familiar, the fight feed dropped for all of us, no matter where you were. I thought at first it was me. I went on to, the Alliance Discord. It was everybody. And boy, did it take for me what could have been a fairly solid pay-per-view, at least a decent pay-per-view, and it really dropped it down a few points. I saw people just saying, screw it, I'll tune in tomorrow. And then coming back tomorrow and having the same problem. So, I mean, I'm with Dodie on that one. But I think, Mike, as we get into this, Media Mike, who goes from about 5 different names. I'm just going to start calling you Media Mike now, Mike. Media M5 says a bunch of stuff that I thought was bang on as we get into this for the next hour. Honestly, Tim, the card 312 was not bad. I liked it, but the production, bro, again, the shits. Main audio came over blaring over commentary many times. Too many video glitches, I think he means, and timeouts in the broadcast. Almost missed the last 40 minutes of the card. Yeah. Very amateur in their production, and well, Mike's got some audio experience, so to raise the commentary volume, lower the main input. But this I thought was very poignant for tonight as we talk about 312 before we get to Power. When we speak, I'm with Mike. I'm not trying to be a harsh mark either. Mike got years of video under his belt, and he wants this to be a program, a company that really puts out quality products. When it comes to the production on this one, I must agree that I thought it was largely inferior to what they could have done. We're looking for a company that at least can put out something, if I may, and no slight to the NWA for their power production, but at least it's something as good as you might see out of United Wrestling Network, Derby City Wrestling, Championship Wrestling, presented by Car Shield as it is now. And we didn't get it. And anyway, Lamb is here. The most interesting part of Power this week is that we'll hear Billy Corgan directly talking about 2 to 3 matches. Yeah, there is a special, like I say, we'll get to it. There's a special commentary tonight, which features him and Joe Galley and Irish Pat Kenny, as Nick Aldis had said. Simon Diamond from back in the day, a producer and a bigwig in the NWA right now, talking about the matches from the pay-per-view. So that might be interesting. Mike had said, I feel like asking it. Also, NWA charged me $9 for the Poyo Thrillbilly flag thing. The shipping was as much as the item. $9, and NWA is down. It is 3 hours for me. Ship first class instead of priority 8 days. So spending some money, a lot in shipping, getting it way too late. I hear you. I get it up here in Canada, and it takes that long to get here. So there you go. Willie's here. Tyrus's face is on rolls of toilet paper now. Well, not after 3-1-2, Willie. He comes up on top once again, and still, as they say, your world's heavyweight champion. Doty said, I think Danny Deal's also the star no one notices. The commentary between him, Joe Galley, and Tim Storm are entertaining, much better than Velvet. 100%. I actually thought it was not as good as it was when it was Joe with Deals and Candy. But I also felt that that it was a bit more understated as well, and maybe that's not a terrible thing. DK is here. Like I mentioned, DK and Jaden and I, Devin probably hasn't heard this before now, but we're going to be doing the back half of the pay-per-view in the deep dive, DK. I haven't had a chance to email you yet, but that's what we're going to focus on Thursday. How do you guys feel about Billy calling the NWA a glorified indie? I mean, for me, I can't really say that he's wrong. It's his product, and I think he's likely nailing it. But he also says in that interview and others as well that he believes there's an incredibly bright future, and that there are deals in the works of things that are happening. So we'll see how it goes. Mike's talking about shipping for stuff still. How can this possibly be this amount of money for something like this? So charging $25. TK says, I don't know about the glorified part. Maybe it's just an indie. So, I mean, there's a lot of good points here. I want to know what you guys thought of 3-1-2 overall, and as we go through these matches, and we'll talk about the first, in the next half hour about each one of these matches, but think about giving it a rating, A through F, I guess, as we get to the end. I'll reserve my judgment until all you guys are throwing yours out there, but right off the bat, that failed stream really took me right out of it. If this were an A pay-per-view on its own, which it was not, I immediately felt like it was knocked down to like a B- C+ just from the stream. DK says it's a C. Yeah. The stream, as I say, knocks it down into the C variety for me. I did not think the lighting looked good. I know our friends Heebs and Dave Scooby were both at the event, and both of them said that they lost pictures. The lighting was either too dark when I was watching it on television from home, or too stark in some cases, and pictures didn't turn out. Dave thought that Dave Scooby, that is, thought that he often takes many great pictures from the event. He always has a grid seat, and his pictures are always of a pretty good quality. Didn't really turn out this time. I mean, the lighting was so bad in there. the arena didn't look very robust either. I was trying to find the right word for that, but I know it was sold out, but it didn't look filled or big enough, or like it had any kind of gravitas to it, if I can use that silly word. Like I said at the start of the show, you look at like Hollywood or Derby City, or even where Power's filmed, it's 100 times better than what we got here. Dodie back in the chat says the matches overall are good, except for the part where Tom was treated like shit once again for the 10 billionth time. Yeah, not very good to Tom Latimer, who should be an even bigger star in that company than he is. DKM says it's a total failure for the stream, which I think Mike agrees. Somewhat off topic, Rick says, but I thought the debut of Derby City Wrestling was fantastic. Great production, well put together show. Me too, man. It was just like a championship wrestling show. It was exactly like one of those. It's the same production company as we know, Dave Marquette's Productions. And the good people at Derby City put on a fantastic show in which our friend Jeremy, who I think is in the chat, I thought I saw his name earlier, will be talking about, tomorrow night on the Other Alliance Guys podcast on his Championship Wrestling from Jeremy segment. Willie Bowen says, ladies match B-. Fair. I think that was fair. Mike says, too dark appearing on TV. Audio was a shit. Small venues. You can see the wrestlers had issues with timing. How many people fit into the venue for 312? It looked rather small, Rick asks. DK said it looked to be about 250, but hard to tell on TV. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Heebs or Dave are in the chat tonight. They could probably have an accurate for you. There's Dave. Hey, Dave. They used old school can lights. LED lighting would have helped a lot. Decent setup, but could have been better. James Bell says, hey, James, B, thought the Jack Stain match was slow and took too long. And the Latimer Bully Ray match seemed to suck the life out of the crowd. Camille has spoiled us, and I don't think her match flowed well. Agreed on all of those accounts, and maybe we should just get to it. Latimer's match, DK says, was just a repeat of Hard Times with EC3. And Rick liked the ladies' title match for the best of the night. Other than that, the show was mediocre at best. And, I don't know as we go through this how I feel entirely about 312. I didn't like it all that much. I mean, I've heard people go, oh, like the matches were great, just everything else sucked. And I'm thinking about it for a while, and I feel again like it was like a B plus pay-per-view that just got knocked down for me, not being in live attendance there. So I don't know. Anyway, we'll get to it. I hope everybody had a great Easter. Hope you all got your Easter candy, your Cadbury slime ovums, as we like to call them up here. No, we don't really. It's just me. Let's talk about 312 because we're 50 minutes into this thing now. This started on the pre-show. We had Natalia Markova, and please shout out what you thought of some of these matches as we go. I'll try to make them fairly quick. Natalia Markova in her second match against La Brava Escobar, who came out with CJ, thought it was a physical match. They made a mention where Escobar lost some teeth the first time, which would have, kind of given some oomph to this match in billing it before it happened. CJ intervenes and La Brava almost wins this, but Markova takes her out with the beautiful destruction or whatever it's called. That it was an okay start to the match or to the show. It's a pre-show match. I feel bad for Natalia Markova being on the pre-show. I thought that she kind of deserved better at this, with the work that she's put into with the NWA. I should note that Joe and Tim, as we kind of talked about in the chat before, are with Danny Deals, and there's no Velvet. If you're following her online, her cat got sick, and she didn't make the show, or I gather the tapings. And there were some audio and video problems in the pre-show, but that's what pre-shows are for. Dave says, yeah, about roughly 250 for the pay-per-view, about 200 for the tapings for Rick there. And Lamb is asking, had the NWA ever used LED screens except for that one anniversary show? Yeah, good question. I agree that Joe might be one of the best commentators in pro wrestling. One of them, certainly, except when he gets super animated and goes good old JR on you. And then he kind of loses me a little bit. But we do get the Savages with Chris Silvio versus a Country Gentleman. This was better than I thought it was going to be. It ended where Silvio tried to throw a loaded boot into the ring guys, and he gets tossed out. And the Savages had really been beating the bejeebus out of the Country Gentleman for much of this thing, but Blake Troop is rolled up by Anthony Andrews, and they get the 3. Again, this was a title match on a pre-show, so I think that's worth noting that the NWA took one of their, I believe, 9 titles and put it on the pre-show. They could afford to do it with the number that they've got. But a decent match for the pre-show. There was, I'm just going to skip past the interview parts here. Then we got a Sal the Pal versus Gags in a hair versus mask match. And let me know what you think in the chat. What did you guys think of this match? There was a lot going on here. No Father James Mitchell. He's going to be busy with Max, we're told. So Judias is out, who I thought was really okay in his sort of enforcer role to make sure that they both did what they were supposed to do in this match. There was stuff in here like Gags wants, it's a strap match, and Gags wants to be whipped. Sal obliges him. There was Sal biting Gags' tongue when he zips it out of the mask. Sal is distracted by Judias, he's only there to monitor both of them, and shows him a bag that we learn later has the clippers in it, and he's pinned after the sliced bread number 2. I'm not calling it the finish. Gags didn't want to give Sal the haircut. The clippers came out. The crowd was calling for the head shave. Sal just started doing it himself after a minute. And then he demanded that both of them kiss his feet. And they both kind of dropped to all fours and looked like they might. Then they rolled out together. It's not long after this that it's announced that your next pay-per-view is the Crockett Cup. And, well, I think we'd kind of suggested it a couple times out here that might be the case. That made me go, oh, yeah. Well, that makes sense. There's your first unofficial entry into it right now. So bad, says DK. So bad. Yeah. Sal and Gags, James Bell can wrestle, just change the gimmick. 100%. Sal can, and I almost said his name. Sal and Gags can both go, and they were given so very little to work with here. Sal, by the way, going by Salvation now. I don't know if that's going to stick or not, but that's what they called them at some point in the ring. Lamb says we'll have a lot of random thrown together teams for Crockett Cup, right? I think so. Unless there's some kind of deal, once again, where they go outside and they're working with Wildcat or AAA or who else? A couple of teams from one of those places. The whole thing, Rick says, was ridiculous. This whole pay-per-view, Dave points out, was for building teams for the Crockett Cup as well as the tapings, which we will see after May has an interview. I'll mention it only because of what Bully Ray says, where he says he knows that Tom Latimer has all this great potential, that he's never really gathered in full force because he knows it's weak, but he knows how to get into his head. Tom will blow up mentally. And, it was an okay promo. But for to Dave's comment about building teams for the Crockett Cup, you get Daisy Kill and Talos going down at the hands of Trevor Murdoch and Mike Knox. This was, for me, and I'm sure there were better matches, one of my favorite matches in the night. Yeah, remember, half the teams have to lose in the first round. Yeah, that's right. Trevor Murdoch's using his Captain Badass tagline again. My favorite part, I don't know if anybody else heard it, but from the sidelines, Trevor's picking up, I think it was Talos, and from the apron, you can hear Mike Knox yell like, give him the boot. We ain't getting paid by the hour. And I saw it was such a great tag team moment. There was a spine buster was killer from Murdoch. There was this leg drop slingshot combo that you kind of have to see to understand. Talos has speed. He's a bit sloppy with Murdoch, but I thought he looked okay. There's a clothesline power bomb combo from these two, and that's not even the end of it. They get pinned after a high-low, where one goes low, the other goes high. Daisy Kill is killed. He's killed in this one. I thought Knox looked great. And Murdoch and Knox are played up as a legit threat for anything and anyone. So yeah, what is Mike says, can't call him Captain Fat Ass anymore, probably since he dropped weight. Well, I wouldn't do that even when he was large. He's a big dude. My comment for venue, Tim's, it said Billy wanted it there. It's special, yada, yada. Yeah, Billy's from Chicago. We see why. He probably got the venue on a handshake deal. Sure. And very important, I think, maybe to note that we have been told that the Highland Park Community Foundation is getting some of the proceeds from this this event. For the Murdoch Knox versus Kill and Talos match is a C+ from DK. I liked it better than that, but I thought it served a purpose, and I thought Daisy Kill and Talos are fine recipients of that. Doty's waiting for Knox and Murdoch at the Crockett Cup, 100%. What do we get next? We've got EC3 versus Scion with Idol. Black G's was not here. We've kind of learned on social media through secondary sources that he was called away or something happened. It wasn't specified by the last time that I looked. But we wish him well, and he was definitely missed. They had this weird thing where they started in a lockup that they wouldn't let go of. They did the collar and elbow and just kind of rolled out of the ring with it, walked around the ring with it. They were up, they were down. And there was a spot where EC3 kind of did a warrior spot, tongue-in-cheek with the ropes, which I thought was amusing. But nobody really seemed to know who to cheer for here. Quite understandably. Two guys who have been presented as heels, and heel versus heel. Here we go again. EC3 ended up faking a blowout out of his kneel to get Scion into a submission. New champion, and new, as my friend Jeremy would say. A new NWA National Heavyweight Champion, EC3. So let me just check with this right in the Dave is saying it's basically a wedding hall. Mike thinks they should have spruced the venue up. Oh, sorry. People cheered EC3 maybe to no end. Kind of a weird finish, DKM says. Yeah, it was. It was what it was. It was in my memory, it was a B- maybe. It was okay. Mike says the finish came across TV is lost last second. What the fuck is this? We lost a couple steps. Crowd was down on Scion, Dave said. Again, Dave was in attendance that night. May Valentine ended up having a moment with Father James Mitchell. He's washed his hands of Sal and Gags, just like the rest of us. He has this kind of cool line where he says, Kenzie's only 5 years removed from the trailer trash of whence she came in this sport. And Max doesn't make history. Max erases history. I thought that was kind of cool. For that EC3 Scion match, DK says B-. Let me know what you guys think. We had Pretty in Power versus Missa and Maddie, who are now called M95. I'm not an American. Sounds like a highway to me. If someone can let me in on that one, that'd be great. I thought that Roxy looked pretty decent in this one. There was a good double knee spike by Ella, but in the end, it was Maddie tripping up Roxy and hitting her kick fillet for the win. I thought it was serviceable, which is a word I unfortunately use a lot for this pay-per-view when I think about it. I had no losses on the 3-1-2 called. She got everyone right. Too bad I couldn't see it all. Yeah. The Reluchador. Poor Cyan, really the only loser of the night. Everyone else kept their belts. But EC3. Yeah, she likes EC3, boys. Let me see here. What do we get next? Yabo the Clown making his NWA debut versus Kratos. Kratos smokes Yabo. Oh, DK is giving the last match a C. Kratos smokes Yabo right at the top of this one, and to which he gets some comeback, but he never really seems to fully recover. Kratos does a nope spot, which Aldis used to do, which Samoa Joe used to do in Impact. I don't know. I actually learned from Jaden not to be too much of a fan of those ones, for reasons maybe we'll discuss on Thursday. Kratos ends up pinning Yabo after a double underhook DDT. Dodie wants to know, where's Robert Anthony? Robert Anthony has been out there plugging the NWA for a long, long time now. Why doesn't he get any of Billy's love? Michael Manning, hey Tim, brother. Oh yeah. Hey Mike, good to see you. Mike says Yabo tried smacking Kratos like he was Homie the Clown in Living Color. Yeah, the tie thing. Just like, is it a loaded tie? It was garbage. I thought it was junk. But hey, I did see a match later for excuse me, not a match later, a picture later of Yabo with Magic Jake. So I think that's probably a Crockett Cup team right there. DKM gives it a D. Yep, I think that is fairly generous. Media Mike says, I'm sorry this was bad. Why have Yabo debut on a national pay-per-view when you can have TV tapings right afterward? Slot could have been for someone else. Yeah, maybe one of those guys in the Battle Royal. Speaking of Battle Royal, the Bob Luce Battle Royal, Memorial Battle Royal, there's a whole thing here that we'll go into, but it comes down to essentially Silas Mason and Odinson. And there is a spot at the end where Pollo is on the Pollo Del Mar is on the apron and gets sprayed by the silver mist from Odinson, and kind of falls to her hands and knees outside. And I think that it was supposed to be that Mason is eliminated, but ends up standing on Pollo and gets back in before eliminating Odie. It was kind of a missed spot. I know what they were going for. Probably very hard to execute. But, I mean, I don't think anyone didn't call Thrillbilly to win this pay-per-view. Dave says he saw Robert Anthony in the crowd later the night. He seemed sad for some reason. Yeah. Well, if you know, you know. So I mean, no big surprise there. There were a couple of good spots in the battle royal, but you put 20 guys in a ring and it goes this long. It's just, frankly, for me, it's just a mess, and I can't even try to keep up with what's going on to report on it later. So let me know what you guys think. May had Kenzie Page versus Max the Impaler. There's a trophy for the women's television title. So immediately when I hear that there's a trophy for the title to be the inaugural winner of the women's television championship for the NWA, immediately I think you don't have the belt ready yet. And I think when you have had all of this time and this build up to build this tournament to the match where someone receives a belt to show us on the, I know I'm the belt guy. I like the belts, but when the company says that's what this is going to be, and then at the pay-per-view tells us, though, they get a trophy right now, they're going to get a belt that they can help design in their own image. My neck is cracking. I doubt you can hear it. I don't know, guys. I felt this was a bit silly. It's dumb. It's all Max at the start. There's some interference by Samantha Starr, who's out to complain. She gets crunched. So does Kylie. It's pretty much mostly Max, but when a chair is involved, Max takes a cutter out of nowhere from Kenzie Page onto the chair and takes the pin. And Kenzie Page, quite correctly, I think, is your inaugural NWA Women's Television Championship. I don't know if they're calling it a World Women's Television Championship. I haven't heard that yet. DKM agrees. It's ridiculous not to have a belt here. It looked like someone went out to a trophy store, and and that's actually probably what happened, and got themselves a one of these, a trophy. Good for Kenzie for winning, but unfortunately, not really what we were hoping for in the end here. It was a story being told here where Max would dominate, and Kenzie Page gets her win, her well-deserved win for all their efforts in the NWA over the past couple of years to become the television champion. May has La Rosa Negra. She's trained hard and she's going to win. That's basically her segment. Lamb says maybe got lost in traffic. Yeah. Or Fandu Belts forgot there was still one thing to do. Now, I don't know this for a fact, but I'd heard that Mr. Dave Millican was asked to make this belt. And if that's correct, as far as I know, like, he has a very, very long backlog of about a decade. And I know there are belts that have been made before others that are owed. But I don't know. I mean, the NWA doesn't have a recent policy of going to, they used to have Dan Van Alst, who made the Burke and your national title and the World Tag Team titles, and they ended up having their deal with Fandu. And I can't believe that Fandu, if it was them or anyone else, wouldn't have the belt ready. But this is, I think it really falls to the NWA to have a title here. We got Joe Alonzo versus Ricky Morton, the World Junior Championship. I felt like Galley gave away the winner at the beginning by saying some things that he said. You can go back and listen to it. They should have went to Belts by Dan or Tyrus's guy who made a lot of belts. You're asking me for the grade for Kenzie Page versus Max the Impaler? I'd say a B. I'm really disappointed that there was no belt. Oh, excuse me. No grade for, I see what you were saying, DK, for the women's TV title match. It was basically the only way it could have been booked. Well said. This was pretty back and forth, Alonzo versus Morton. There was a kiss it goodbye for 2 There was, a bunch of decent moves back and forth. Some people were saying this was their match of the night. Hey, boss, good to see you. Joe Alonso hit that roll of the dice for 2, maybe 3. It was a bit of a weird spot, but he eats a kiss it again, and this move that Kerry's doing now, called the showstopper to win. Kerry offers a hand. He gives a finger to Ricky outside the ring. Alonso does. Solid B from DK. Yeah, solid B, I think, is fair. But solid B is maybe the best you're going to see on this particular card. We had Latimer versus Bully that started out as kind of like an exhibition. They talked about that, where they shake hands. There's clean break exchanges in the corner. They're evenly matched. They're respectful until Bully kind of gives Tom one of those. And then Tom, during the next exchange, does it right back. And the exchange holds. They're kind of actually wrestling. There's a very interesting standing moonsault off the top rope by Tom Latimer that hits Billy. Bully just gets the television title and comes into the ring and says, if this had been on the line, I would have already beat you by now. For me, as he hands the belt to Tom Latimer and says, hit me with it, this is where my feed died. And what I've been able to sort of gather from going back and looking at it, I gather he might have done that, but I don't know, because FIGHT had feed problems. The NWA had feed problems, and we got to call it what it is. I paid, I don't know, $35, plus the exchange rate for Canada to watch something. I can't tell you precisely how it ended. Not exactly, no. Bully wins this by DQ. I guess he hits him with it. I don't know. Did you guys watch it? So disappointing for me. But he did get into his head, like he said he was going to in the pre-match interview. It's the same with the feed for La Rebellion versus Magnum Muscle. It looked like, in the little bits I could watch, guys, that there was some lack of communication for Magnum Muscle. And it looked like, I saw at the end, that blunt force trauma had interfered. But again, how can I even come here and try to piece together a match that I couldn't see for the money that I paid? This is for the Bully match. Devin says, any match that's a wrestler bring into a mic into the ring during the match is an automatic F. And I think that's harsh but fair. Look, NWA as I heard someone say once, if you're going to be stupid, you got to be tough. And I hope that you take some of the comments that are here and all over the internet, well, as much as the internet that covered 312, and learn from it. And we fix something like this on this feed problem. I don't want to keep harping on about it, but I lost 2.5 matches out of this. And I kind of want compensation from the National Wrestling Alliance in one form or another. And I don't know that that's something that I'll ever pursue or that would be offered. But I haven't heard anything about it. I don't know if you guys have, one way or another. If that's a FIGHT problem, well, then FIGHT ought to ante up and gives, FIGHT credits or whatever it is towards another pay-per-view. Lamb says, the weird thing is that people pay under $10 for FIGHT Plus, and I haven't seen any problems with GCW at all. Yeah, I'm one of those guys. At least I don't know how much longer now, but even before GCW was available without FIGHT Plus. Yeah. So I don't know. FIGHT sucks. there it is. What else really needs to be said? We got about 15 minutes left before we got to get off the air. Adonis cut an interview where he said to May, he's just fired up to be here, and he's walking out the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. But you got Camille versus La Rosa Negra. They shook hands before and after this match. They had a solid outing that, because Camille matches, in my opinion, have been show stealers, or at least the best matches on the card for several pay-per-views. Anytime she appears, she seems to be the one who has the best matches. This was a little substandard for people with these two amazing abilities, but probably still your best match on the card. If you don't know La Rosa Negra, and I don't blame you if you're just an NWA centric fan right now from the Lightning One area, she hasn't been built up enough. She can go, baby. She's got a history of being able to go, and she is an excellent wrestler. She looked great in this. There were a lot of good spots in it, back and forth. But in the end, it was Camille with the spear and the 3 count and the embrace afterwards and the shaking of hands. And I appreciated that without any lead up. These were two faces. It's hard to know who to cheer for, Billy. If both sides are a face or both sides are a heel, and we've been saying this all the time, it was nice as just a fan to watch this and say, I can appreciate that two athletes are appreciating each other. And for me, it was one of my favorite matches on the card, and I'd give it probably a B plus, which means there was no A match on this card for me, because the final match of the night was your world's heavyweight champion, Tyrus, defending the 10 pounds of gold against the masterpiece, Chris Adonis. I just want to get to this first. James Bell said, fight responded to me. It was an issue with the feed at the NWA side, and they were waiting for the video from NWA to provide the complete matches. DK gives a women's world title a B plus also. Scooby says, any interviews with May in the back? We heard the audio, but there were not screens in the venue. Very weird at times. I would agree that's odd. People going to start asking for refunds if NWA keeps doing with this quality. 100%. I may do that anyway. But in this particular match, I would give credit to Chris Adonis for slowing down and wrestling the kind of match that Tyrus needed. We know what we have outside the ring in Tyrus, which is why he's our champion. We know what we've got inside the ring with Tyrus, which is the flip side of that particular coin. And given his age, given his size, and given, I'm sure, the wearing that has happened on his body over the years, I thought that Adonis took care of him. And I thought he participated in a match here that was slow. It was a very late pay-per-view. I haven't mentioned that too. I'm in Eastern time. So for me, and it looked like the crowd for at least the last 3 matches, I was ready to call it a night. It was 1 a.m. by the time that it was over here. And I was just, it felt like the energy had been sucked out of the arena, and it felt like it had been sucked out of my living room too. But yeah, Mike put it well here. Neither man was exposed. Yeah, that's right. And that was very good. It ended. No, I don't mean the match was good. The match was what it was, but the story being told that Chris is trying to get the master lock on, and he isn't able to do it. He finally gets it on, and they're on the mat, and it looks like the champ's going to go out, and he's rolling him on top of him, and Tyrus shifts his weight, and he pins Adonis in the ring. And Adonis just sits up. He can't believe it. Tyrus is basically almost unconscious. And it was fair. You could almost see them, if the world champion ends up appearing at the Crockett Cup in a tag team match, which I hope he doesn't. I hope he defends the world title. You can almost see the two of them becoming a tag team for that. And I think Scooby pointed that out to me. But Um, Michael Manning says it cut out for me here in the UK, but it was probably 4 a.m. by then. I was drunk as a skunk. I don't mind too much. I just hope we get more cinematic stuff in the future, like we had with the 10 pounds of gold. Everybody's favorite, cinematic video package was the 10 pounds of gold, for sure, my friend. Yeah, Mike says James was right. This was purely NWA production fault again. All right, then do the right thing and compensate the fans you've got. NWA, not you, Mike. We're still your fan. You don't have to compensate us. Lamb says if they do interviews, which only people watching at the stream can see, then they should do it in front of the crowd to get some reactions, like they did with the podium. Yes, I didn't even think of that. That's 100%. Put them out there. Match with stupid ending. DKM says, or your main match and was a D plus. Yeah, I think that's a fair rating. D plus. Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely in the D's. And as I'm trying to rate it myself, I don't know, somewhere in that range for the entire pay-per-view. Let me know what you guys think down here. What do you give the pay-per-view overall? For me, I think my ratings probably placed it somewhere around a C. And that includes with the feed and the poor lighting and the sound and, oh, that's low. Outlandish Paradise, if it had a better production. Oh, my friend Lamb. But maybe you're not wrong. Hey, listen, we got 8 minutes till Power's on the air, but we don't have to spend even, I don't think, that much talking about it, because tonight there are 3 matches, as we mentioned at the top of this broadcast, on Power. It's an encore presentation from the pay-per-view. It is Sal versus Gags. Can I put this over here? Will that do that? It will not. It is the hair versus mask strap match. It is the from the pay-per-view. Also from the pay-per-view, you get to see the battle royale, the battle royal, depending on where you're from, and you get to see Yabo's debut against Kratos. What you're seeing in the corner there, I'll blow this one up a little bit, is Joe Galley, Pat Kenny, and William Patrick Corgan will be hosting this event and giving commentary to it. Pat Kenny is, of course, Simon Diamond. Here's a damning statement, but also from a very fair guy. Why are they airing this footage again? I didn't care for it the first time around. I'm disappointed that there is nothing in the can that we could be watching right now as the NWA prepares to go down under. Why can't we see some of the footage from Mexico? Why have there not been, something prepared that doesn't require the NWA to go and give you an encore presentation and say, well, how do we spice this up? Well, we can have Joe with Billy and Pat Kenny, who I was always a fan of when he was in the ring, hasn't been exposed to the NWA audience yet on camera. Not really, anyway. So I don't know. I thought it was a lackluster pay-per-view with lackluster production at best. I hope for more. As Lamb says, I love Joe Galley, but man, every time he says wrestling as it's meant to be, it feels like he wants to insult a fan. Yeah. Because this event, Mike says, wasn't for the fans at home. Well, I think I know what you're saying, but if they're not including the fans at home as your target audience, then why would I want to pay $35 US to tune in and watch it if this is what I'm going to get moving forward? I do this show because I love talking to you guys, and I don't think if I were not part of the Alliance family, I'm only going to be watching NWA. Like it is not what it was a few years ago. And we continue to hope for best. And there's some amazing talent out there. And boy, I just hope that the production ends up getting better. And why? Because they told us and we can pay and view it. Yeah, fair. Yeah, look, hey, Rusty Loudermilk. Sad to say, but the NWA is getting bad. Is it getting bad, or is it already, I hate saying this out loud, is it already there right now? It wasn't a D- pay-per-view for me. It was a C+. But we need better, and we need to continue to demand better and hope that the amazing talent is given, superior tools to work with in the storylines, and that the production increases. Oh, sorry. Where was here's Rick as we just count down the last couple minutes here. Surely there has to be more unreleased footage. Even if they were putting this on TV for free, I wouldn't have paid for the event. Yeah, they have to stop using that wrestling as it was meant to be line. Just seems like they're going in another sports entertainment direction. This is the issue, right? 51 years as a fan, but William Patrick Corrigan is no booker. Yeah, if you don't like it, don't watch it. Don't push me. And on that note, thank you, Jay. Thank you, everybody. You are just a few minutes away from Power over on YouTube. Enjoy the encore presentation if you haven't seen it from pay-per-view. And I hope you guys, enjoy the show. Enjoy the rest of your week. Tune in tomorrow night, please, for the other Alliance Guys broadcasts. We're going to go in a deep dive, not quite move for move, but a deep dive for all of the first half of the pre-show and the first half of the pay-per-view, giving our thoughts. That's me, Dave Scooby, Jeremy, Wrestling with the MMA. And we're also going to talk about UWN and the debut of Derby City Wrestling, which, by the way, go and seek it out. Go seek out the United Wrestling Network. We say this all the time. And Dave's going to do some fantasy booking around the Crockett Cup. Then we're back to on Thursday, where I'm going to pinch hit for Jay again with the original Alliance Guys. And we'll go through the back half of 312, the world title matches near the end, and DKM and Jaden can give us their expert analysis from a couple of guys who have been in the business and had experience in it firsthand. So please tune in, and we'll until next time, we'll see you at the matches if Billy keeps making them worth watching.
Thanks for checking out the Pre-Party, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. You should hit that subscribe button and join our community. I also want to remind you that we recap NWA Power every Thursday at 8 p.m. in the live stream. We try to stay social, so find us at the Alliance blog. And until next time, we are the Alliance.